Welcome to the stream.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Asa. How are you doing today?
I'm 100%. I'm 100%. If there's ever a time that I needed a book club
Mm.
to help me understand the things in my life that I read, today is that day.
I'm right here with you. I think this is going to be a very, if not fruitful, then at least interesting discussion. So
Yeah,
I'm
I'm here for
excited.
that. I'm here for that. If it's your first time here, this is Science Fiction Story Club, hosted by Sarah and Asa. Here we are. We are working our way through this anthology of science fiction short stories. We read one short story a week, and today that story is called The Elements of Pataphysics by someone named Alfred Jarry. I'm excited to talk about this, but Sarah, how's the writing week going?
I'm so glad you asked. The writing week is going well. I usually have like sheaves of paper to hold up with my progress, and this week I'm excited to say that after a week in the doldrums last week, things are back to good. I'm always worried. I don't know if this is something you struggle with, but I'm always worried that when I start to go downhill, when I start to feel lost, that, oh, I guess, I'm done writing forever now. Or like I get this melodramatic thing that it's like, well, I guess, I've lost my ability to write and I'll never get it back. And it was really refreshing to sit down this morning and like feel the ideas pouring out of me. So I think I've learned that what that means is I'm not losing my ability to write. It means, Sarah, you need to take a day off. So,
I
so
love
that's
that.
me.
I
How
love
about
that.
you?
That is great. I'm gonna kind of like slot that
Yeah.
away. It's been a good writing week. Yeah, I'm focused for the most part. It's been quality, not quantity, not a ton
Mm,
of output, but I have felt in touch
mm.
the times I have written. So that's been cool. Let us know
Kind
what
of
you're working
everything.
on in the
Yeah.
comments, y'all. Just quick intros. My name's Asa Merritt. I'm a fiction writer. I write horror. My background is in screenwriting and playwriting. I wrote an Audible original called Six Sermons. Sarah and I know through each other through podcasting. Sarah, tell us who you are.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm also a writer and podcaster, and I think we're both just like multi-creative individuals. But yeah, I created a show called Hey Nick. That's not the name of my show. I was just saying hey to Nick. I created a show called Girl in Space in 2017. I am, as you can see by the pile of papers, still working on season 2. And I'm super excited to be here with you and with everyone in Story Club today.
Yes, welcome. Well, folks, we're going to be relying on you in a lot of ways today
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because this is a tough one. So, this is called Elements of Pataphysics, Alfred Jarry. This is a translated work. This is translated from the French. This particular story was written, I
Oh, I wrote
don't
it
know,
down.
1896. And
Yes.
sir, if you had to do the like, tell your friend at the bar, oh, hey,
Well,
hey, I just finished this story, Elements of Pataphysics. It's, how would you describe it?
oh man, I would. You know what? I want to say I'd have trouble describing it, but I really wouldn't. So here's how I would put it. This is taken from a novel. So it's already taken from a larger work and it's translated from French. So it's like we're like already 2 times removed from it. So I want to just preface that as part of maybe why it's so hard to like parse. But basically, it reminded me a lot of, have you read The Phantom Tollbooth?
I think when I was a kid, but I don't remember it.
Oh, this made me think about halfway through. I had this light bulb moment and I thought, this is the Phantom Tollbooth. And really, basically, the Phantom Tollbooth is something that we've been talking about for the last few weeks, a conte philosophique. It's literally a journey through a series of ideas. That's all it is. And like Norton Juster, the author of The Phantom Tollbooth, puts it all into a frame story where this character named Milo has to get home. But basically, it's this. So, pataphysics is the science of imaginary solutions. So they talk about it as being like metaphysics, but a step above that. And so this is dipping deeply into absurdism. And I know I haven't started talking about the plot yet because there's really not one. What we're seeing here is just sort of some, philosophizing about what pataphysics is. And then Faustroll, who is our main character, shrinks himself down to the size of a mite and studies water, which he calls an element, which is interesting. And then he does some more thinking. He has a telegraphic conversation, or excuse me, he writes a telepathic letter to one of his friends, to his colleague, Lord Kelvin. And I don't know if that's the same as like Kelvin degrees or what. But basically, he does some fun wordplay, and then we decide that it's time to throw some religion into it. And so this is when we start talking about the mathematics of the geometry of a triune God. And then finally, we measure the surface of God. So it's not so much a story where you have characters and plot points. It's a real conte philosophique, looking at a branch of science that does not exist and does not really compute, I think. And I think that's the whole point of it. I had a lot of, after I got past the, oh my gosh, what is going on? I started really enjoying the voice, which we can talk about in a little bit. But yeah,
Yes.
basically, yeah, this is, if you hear us talking about the main character, that's Dr. Faustroll. And I don't know if Faust is purposeful or not. But yeah.
I really like what you said about getting past the point of not like this was a before and after story for me, in that there was a moment when I realized that I don't need to understand everything.
Mhm.
Like it took me a little while to put together that like the part of your brain that's trying to imagine the words on the page and connect this sentence to that sentence is hurting your comprehension. And as soon as I did that, it did become more accessible.
Yeah.
Reading the interview or the intro, if you don't have the book yet, the book is great, y'all, because it has these introductory essays to the stories. This piece is identified, or particularly this artist, Jarry, is identified as proto-Dada, proto-surrealist, and proto-futurist, and likened to the theater of the absurd. And I was like, oh, okay, this is not supposed to make sense. It's okay that it doesn't have to make sense. If I want to meet this story on its terms, I need to like let it not make sense. So that was like a breakthrough on the reading front, because yeah, you can't take it seriously, otherwise it just doesn't make sense. So it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense, so what is the sense of something that doesn't make sense? And once I kind of got to arriving at like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing right now, I felt more comfortable in it.
Yeah, I think it even does say it's an absurdist jazz riff on the conte philosophique.
It seems like we're not alone here, Sarah.
Okay, good.
Nick Coleman says, I definitely need to read it again. My brain could not grab onto any of it last night, and letting it not make sense makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, I didn't really get to this point, Nick, until the second reading, until I sat down with it today. I reread the intro, kind of tooled around online about the story, which there's not much at all out there, because this is really the one place to find it. And yeah, because I had the exact same experience, where last night I read it yesterday as well, and I was like, I don't even know where to begin. I had a genuine fear for this story club, and I was like, Sarah, I don't know what we're going to talk about. This is insane. So, but I think we're all in this together, and I do think the insanity is part of the sanity. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I think honestly, when I was reading this and thinking of the Phantom Toll Booth, I remember reading that when I was probably too young to understand it. And like most of the things, like the word dodecahedron just flew over my head. And I really think I went into the same mindset here of just, I'm going to sit back and let this just wash over me and see what I get out of it. So definitely embracing the absurdism, embracing the metaphysical nature of what we're not necessarily diving into, but skimming over today.
Yeah. So once you got there, what did you feel? Or like, how did the story work on you once you had kind of landed, once you started speaking its language?
So once I got in there and I like that, started speaking its language, which I don't because it's in French, and then later it's in math, and there's also some Greek right at the beginning. It is a little bit of a journey, but it's more of a, you keep dialing in. So you kind of start with, what is pataphysics? And okay, it's something that you can't possibly understand, basically, is what they say. And this kind of clued me in. I didn't catch on to this till later, but this clued me into the fact that what's part of what's going on here, I think, because I don't want to say anything definitive about this, but I think part of what's going on is we're poking a little bit of fun at academia. And yeah.
I think that's definitely going on.
Yeah. Well, and it was really the thing that clued me in on that. So there's 5 sections, and each section gets a little bit closer and closer to, I think, what pataphysics is trying to achieve, or at least what it's trying to achieve in this story. It wasn't clear to me if this actually one day became an actual branch of science. I don't think it did. I think it remains absurdist. But correct me if I'm wrong.
That's how I interpret it.
Okay, good. Okay. So yeah, basically, he starts off by giving us very specific ways in which our senses deceive us. So he talks about, I liked this example of the wristwatch. So, oh, you draw a wristwatch. What shape do you draw it in?
Circle, right?
You draw in a circle, right? But, if you do this to it, it's not a circle, but it's still a wristwatch. And so he starts playing with our concept of how our senses trick us, essentially. Or at least, again, this is what I was getting out of it. And that sets us up for looking at, he eventually says, the masses have even learned that the real universe is composed of ellipses, and even the bourgeois keep their wine in barrels rather than cylinders. So basically what he's trying to do is just blow up our concepts of anything. That was kind of what I took away from this first section. Like a circle is not a circle.
That's really useful, because in the first section, he's blowing up concepts, at least some of the time, that we actually understand.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we know what a watch is. Whereas like when we get to the hard math, who knows if n equals infinity minus 0 is anything, even to a mathematician, right? So he's starting with like, at some level, we're being pulled into the deep end, not thrown in it.
And it's so condescending. It's so condescending. I feel like the first time I read this, it rubbed me the wrong way. And the second time I read it, I realized it was part of the joke. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like even the simplest person understands that. And even poor people keep their wine in barrels. Like,
right. Right.
I'm like, okay, dude, calm down.
I hear that. Yeah. So, I mean, okay. If we, what do we think? What do we think he was trying to leave us with? Like how is this constructed? And I guess for me, it is helpful to try to think about surrealist art and Dada art and kind of wrap my head around like what experientially I'm getting from those things, which is like to like the what's the word I'm looking for? The collage of it all is this feeling that our systems of knowledge are unsatisfactory. Worse than that, they're foolish and filled with errors, and that we shouldn't take them seriously. That was kind of like what I felt, was this increasingly, if you think for a second you should take science seriously, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what he was going for?
I mean, I don't think it was maybe not necessarily like that verbatim. I think he was just playing. At the end of this, I really felt like he was just here to like insult people and make puns. Like, I think that ultimately, I don't know if he was trying to prove anything. But I think he was trying to show us how absurd it is to dive into something that we can't understand and to pretend that it gives us definitive answers. So even So where this is all going is, and I mentioned this a little bit before, section 5, we talk about, is it the circumference of God? Yes, concerning the surface of God. And each of these sections goes to show us that, A, you can't believe your senses. B, which is where he shrinks down to the size of a mite and explores a drop of water. He then goes into, and there's something I really wanted to point out here. At the beginning of part 3, Eternity, and let me know if I'm running away with the conversation a little too much. I just get real excited.
No,
okay.
this is great.
The quote is incorrect.
Oh yeah. Okay. Which quote? And just so everyone knows what you're talking about.
So at the beginning, part 3, Eternity, there's a quote in Latin by Francis Bacon, who I don't actually know if Sir Francis Bacon wrote in Latin, but the quote is notably and noted as the author as being incorrectly translated into Latin. And the correct translation is in the footnotes below. And this is really,
to confirm, this is a footnote. This is like an intra-textual footnote, right? This is not a Vandermeer footnote, right?
I believe so. I believe so.
That's how I read it also.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, so Jarry, who I keep thinking like Jarry, but his last name is
Alfred.
Jarry. Yeah. Okay. Alfred Jarry did this intentionally. And this is really where we start, I think, to get into the sense of the nonsense, I think, that we've been talking about a little bit. And I think, at least in my mind, it seems to me either to point out the lack of basic common sense of these high-minded academic types, or he could also be poking at the, what do we want to call it? The intangibility, the mutability of language, the changeability of language, and how the precision in language maybe doesn't necessarily matter. I would lean toward that first one. Yes, Nick has a really good comment here.
Okay, Nick Coleman. It's like he's making fun of the need to make sense of stuff or to be correct by writing something that appears to not make much sense.
Yes.
I agree with that. I think also it's playing with this idea that we've talked about, I think specifically with some of the horror stories and like Lovecraft, who we're going to get to next week in Horror Story Club, like just creating apocrypha and like creating knowledge systems, like referencing texts that don't exist. I feel like we saw this in one book or one story in this collection, but just like manufacturing the like feeling of like knowledge. It's like this has like footnotes and it has quotes at the beginning of this section. It has all these like hallmarks and curly cues of text that we associate with learned text, and just like vibing, giving us that like knowledge vibe while dumping nonsense. Like, I think helps him make his point a little bit.
Oh, I think so too. And he actually, this is the quote I was looking for before. It's at the beginning of part 2, Faustroll smaller than Faustroll, where he shrinks down to the size of a water droplet. The opening quote for this section, I'm just going to read it and then talk about it a little bit, if that's okay.
Great.
All right. Some lunatics repeated over and over that one was at the same time bigger and smaller than oneself, and published such absurdities as if they were useful discoveries. This quote is taken from The Talisman, which I had to look it up, is if you've ever read Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott, this is the second book in that trilogy. So it takes place during the Crusades, and it's a novel. So he's quoting fiction, but I think the spirit of it remains very, very valid in the way that we're reading this particular text as well. It feels very meta to me.
Definitely. I mean, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, also deep cut. I'm so impressed by this Ivanhoe reference. Yes. I mean, so what do you make of the fact that let's talk about how it gets more nonlinear.
Yeah.
And how, like, because in a lot of ways those are conventional, like starting out a section with like a fun little quote, and then it gets like more insane though.
Yes, it
So
does.
what's
Yeah.
up with that?
So I saw this as it almost felt to me, and again, this is pure vibes, but it felt to me like an unraveling a little bit. And so Faustroll is our main character is trying to get more and more specific. He's moving towards something specific, but I think as he does that, he loses more and more of what's meaningful and what's actually true. I don't know if pataphysics cares about what's true as long as you can rationalize it. I feel like I don't know if that's something that we get here. Um, but it's this very interesting broadening as so he's like actively failing more and more as he tries to get to proving the surface of God, the the surface area, which the if that's the goal of what he's trying to do here, he's following exactly what he makes fun of in this quote, publishing such absurdities as if they were useful discoveries. Do we care about the surface of God? Do we care about what does he even measure it in? Do we know?
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I agree with this take. I mean, just like the inanity of what it is that he's trying to discover,
yeah,
you know.
like
And it's just pathetic in the sense that, like, oh, people are trying to figure out God. You know, it feels dark, and it feels dark in that way, that like where we're least capable of understanding. Kashiki, welcome, Kashiki. Good to have you. Where we're least capable of understanding is, to many, the most important part of like the human experience. Your relationship with the divine or the spiritual is like actually where you're like completely, where not only are you like not equipped, right? This isn't like kind of like gentle mysticism that like, oh, we'll never, this is beyond knowing. It's not like that. It's like you're a fool for trying, and you're gonna bang your fingers into the chalkboard trying to write the right letters to describe this. It's dark. It's
yeah.
dark. And like, you go and you look at the kind of other art that was in conversation with this, Beckett and Ionesco, the early 20th century playwrights who were just intensely dark. We live in a world where nothing matters. To me, it really echoes that here. It's like where you have a bunch of math equations that don't add up, that don't even engage with the way we think about numbers. It's dark. Lore
I
Huntress,
appreciate that. Yeah, Lore.
it's interesting that he went from ultimate micro to macro, sort of like an Alice in Wonder thing, where he went as small as possible and tripped up a discovery of the nature of God.
That's a really good point, Lore, because really what I'm curious about is you said it better than I did. A discovery of the nature of God. He tripped up to it. Like, so do you think that he stumbled his way into uh measuring the surface of God, or do you think that that was his original intent in starting? Yes, tripped upon. Yes, he stumbled over it. Do you think that's where he was going from the beginning? Because I think that if I'm understanding what you're saying, I really think that you've nailed it here in that he's like, oh, hey, look where I've come. Oh, hey, look, now we can measure God. Okay, let's just do this. Um, so
I think it's
yeah.
cool because I think it's like, because it's separated into parts, it like definitely flows. There is the conclusion, but I think the text is also saying that like these are disconnected. Like there's not a through line here, right? It's like this attempt at order is like completely discrete, and each section is doing its own thing that's totally different, which shows how nothing is connected and how everything is absurd.
Yeah. Well, and actually, it's if you look at this from a storytelling perspective, this is classic and then storytelling. So, and stop me if you know this already, folks in the comments, just be like, Sarah, we know this. But there's two different ways to think about story. Well, okay, there's 10 million different ways to think about storytelling, but often juxtaposed against each other are and then storytelling, where you have a sequence of events that aren't necessarily connected, which is this. And then you have but however storytelling. And instead of, well, I went for a walk and then I saw an airplane and then I saw a car and then I got home and I ate lunch. So that's and then storytelling. It's not related. And then you have but however. So I went on a walk, but it was raining. However, I brought an umbrella. But, you know, this, and that's how you build conflict and obstacles in the way of your story.
Yeah,
But
there
this
seems
was
like
very and then. Yeah.
there seems like a deliberate rejection of that. Like I think traditionally and then is kind of just like lazy writing, but it's still like if you're in the rom-com and like meet cute at the coffee shop and then like walking in the rain, we're still talking about the same universe, the same characters, like, and like, okay, yeah, maybe there wasn't like clear causation, but these pieces formally they're insanely different. Like one's a letter, one's a math problem. You know, I almost think it's like even more extreme than and then. It's almost like deliberately how far away can this get
Well,
from
you
the
mentioned the
prior
word
section.
collage earlier.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. It's just like these things can't be. I don't know, or like a magic eye, where it's like I can't look too close at any of these. I have to like zoom out and see it as like a bunch of different types of ways that humans try to understand the world, a bunch of different ways that humans try to communicate with each other, and like pull it out. And it's like this is the greater picture isn't actually a functional rendering of like chaos. It's like, oh, chaos. But if you like look in, it's just different manners of the way we try to communicate, and these kind of satirizing each one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's just this arbitrary feeling of like, well, let's go down this road now. And it's just, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
Again, a major plot point from the Phantom Tollbooth, which I think you should also read, maybe even instead of this. But
I think that that sounds like I need to revisit. Everyone has such a magical relationship with that book, so I feel like it could be time to pull it out.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the transition between sections 3 and 4 when we go from talking about science to the divine, to bringing in the fourth part is very, very short, but it's called Pataphysics and Catechemy. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I'm familiar with catechism, which is basically a summary of a doctrine or something that a specific faith or church believes. And he's really like mixing and matching with geometry. And so I'm going to read this quick sentence here.
Yeah.
He says, God is transcendent and trigonal, which is the same thing as triagonal. And the soul is transcendent theogonal. Therefore, the soul is trigonal too. Basically, he's like, look, the soul is a triangle. That's literally what this is. Like,
which is like reasonable, right? I mean, I think like if you read like abstract theology and stuff, you know, it's funny because it's just like, yeah, that's where like I feel like this piece does achieve a level of like satire.
Yeah.
Like when people go hard in the paint and talking about like what is the nature of God and stuff, it does get so abstract like that.
Right. And like this really too made me think of, and I don't know if this is something that is like widely known. I'm trying to say this without sounding like a hipster. But like, are you familiar with the concept of sacred geometry?
I mean, maybe no. I mean, I'm just gonna say no for the sake of this conversation.
Okay, so there's like this, and this is just Sarah putting together things that might not have anything to do with each other. Just because I have ADHD and my brain like collects little snippets of things and then spews them out at you. But basically, looking at sacred geometry, it was a way to look at how we quantify or measure the sacred, the divine. And it's so interesting because it's this whole, I guess, like area of meta math, maybe, where you're looking at what it means to take up space, what it means to exist, what it means for the ethereal to exist or not exist. So looking at music, for instance. We have music in 8 octaves, but there is a little bit of a difference between this final octave and when it starts over again, called the Pythagorean comma. This is all the stuff you didn't want to hear about today.
This is great.
Yes, like Pythagoras. Thank you, Lore. Lore knows about sacred geometry. Yes, the Pythagorean comma. And it's this minuscule pause between the octaves. And they're like, is that where God is? Is that where God is?
Okay.
That's God.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Right. So like in the sense that like pi is ongoing and like yes. Got it.
Yeah. And there's a lot there with, and I pulled a lot of that out of this because he talks about measuring time with a tuning fork in section 3. And that really made me think of the music of the spheres, which is the sound that planets emit. It's like subsonic or whatever, but again, that's tied up in sacred geometry and the thought of octaves and the thought of space and the thought of voids. So I feel like this is maybe, I'm not learned enough to say like, oh yes, Jarry was definitely influenced by this or this, but I am noticing a little bit of a connection, and I'm wondering if he is maybe taking on a little bit facetiously or satirically the idea of sacred geometry.
I think so for sure. I mean, specifically there's Lord Kelvin, right? Again, like it's certain that we know from the intro that Mateo, hey everybody, bienvenido, is we know for certain that he is engaging with some of this guy, Lord Kelvin's ideas. Like we do know that from the intro.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's amazing, but it's just so dark because like that sounds really beautiful to me. And perfect circle, all these like concepts of that, like we're always like approaching and those other mathematical comments, limits, and hyperbolas and parabolas, like they always approaching but never closer. Like that's like exquisite. Those are like exquisite ideas. And it's kind of just, he's kind of really laughing at that, which is dark, which is pretty dark. All right.
I mean, it's dark, but also, what is life if you can't laugh at things, right?
True. Maybe I'm just being way too serious. Nick Coleman, sounds kind of like the positive side to alien geometry and cosmic horror, where the incongruence of space drives you insane. Ooh, that's hot. Yeah, that's a cool thought.
Like that. I like that a lot.
Yes.
So we've talked a little bit. So Thursday, come to our horror story club on Thursdays. We've talked a little bit about this. Yes, we've been going through The Dark Descent, edited by David Hartwell. And we've talked a little bit about cosmic horror and the impenetrable like largesse and how we just cannot even comprehend certain things. And Nick, I really like you turning this on its head and looking at, okay, well, we're going small. We're going to the infinitely small here. And what does that do? What role does reason play in this? And will this drive us just as insane as the unknowable? Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah. This is all another way to think about it. Yeah, this is an inverse of that. If alien geometry is an inverse or the other side of like sacred geometry, this type of horror, this type of nihilism is almost an inverse of cosmic horror being sort of overwhelmed by grandeur, magnificence. And the horror is like the absence of something to hold on to,
Mm-hmm.
That's an exciting thought to me.
Yeah. The more you try to hold on to it, the more it escapes.
Yeah. This is good. It's so hard though, because it's like, unless you're given some kind of cue on how to engage with it, it's really, it's hard to kind of situate yourself in a story that's so formally foreign.
And that on its surface doesn't look like a story. On its surface, it actually, so those of you, if you haven't read this, I'm just going to hold up, like, if you can see this here, I'm holding up my copy of Elements of Pataphysics. It's a lot of equations. You're seeing math, like for paragraphs on paragraphs of mathematical equations. If you like came across this randomly, you might think that this is like a scientific paper.
I don't think there's anything other than that, you would think.
Yeah. Like only
Yeah.
because it is in the big book of science fiction edited by Anna and Jeff Vandermeer that I even knew, because otherwise I would just assume like, oh, this is science that's too smart for me to understand. Because, you know, where does the normal person draw the line between misunderstanding and satire? Right?
Okay. Yeah. This is like a fun thought, Sarah, I think in like a bigger like reading, writing, literature life. And because it's cool. It's like, because I think we can like engage with this question on less confusing texts, like where you go into it, like the whole like process of kind of meeting something on its terms and like trying to stay as open as you can to what is like trying to happen. And then like in your own writing, keeping in mind, I don't know, just there's a I don't know what is there, but just this idea of like what are the rules that you're laying out and how much can you expect to take a reader along with you? And maybe that has to do with stuff like literary fiction or whatever, where there's a little more license to be non-traditional or confusing at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this same level of being dumped in the deep end, as it were, can apply in more subtle ways in other works. Any thoughts?
That's really good. Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, what is, and let me know if this is not along the lines of what you were thinking, but like, what is the purpose of being purposefully obtuse? Is that a little bit what you're saying?
I think so, yeah. And how do you signal to the reader that you're not supposed to engage with this like description of water, like seriously, like at what point do you signal satire? At what point do you signal parody? Or do you just like do it all with a straight face and just be like, this is the deal?
And then if you know, you
I
know.
hope
Like
you
if
get
you
it.
get it,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. If you get it, you get it. And if you don't get it, you're not on the joke and it's not for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's trying to be self-selective like that. There is, I think I pointed out earlier, there is a little bit of like condescension and snobbery, but I also think it's done in a very joking tone. So again, there's some different things at play. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would read that as further parody of the condescending nature of like things written like this. I think is how I would see that. Or do you see it as Alfred Jarry is actually condescending to us?
Oh, I don't think so. I think Faustroll is a very silly figure. At least it feels like it. Yeah. And again, if I had not read everyone, I've been going on and on, maybe not on and on, but I've been talking a lot about The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster, which is, to me, it feels very similar. It's all these mathematical and scientific concepts that exercise themselves during the journey that Milo, the main character, has. It's very similar to this. It's very, gosh, what's even, I mean, it's a conte philosophique, but
Right.
yeah, in that sense, he's going toward a point of rhyme and reason matter, and here's why they matter.
For folks who weren't here and don't know what a conte philosophique is.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
What's a conte philosophique?
Oh, I have it bookmarked. Unless you'd like to.
I mean, I think I could take a crack at it.
Do
Do
it.
A conte philosophique is a type of story that sets itself up as a fable, sets itself up as a tale or piece of fiction of some kind, but is actually a relatively thinly veiled vessel for a philosophical idea. Prevalent in the late 19th century, several of these types of stories make it into this collection, and the editor of this particular collection says, or that this story, the editor says that this story is in conversation at some level with that tradition.
That's better than I could have put it.
Well,
I love it.
But you were saying the thing, so that's just like the little.
You did great. Yeah. No.
Yeah, but so go on with that point you were making if you remember it.
Do I remember the point I was making?
I guess you were just saying that this is that in some ways. I think maybe it was just kind of your observation.
I think so. Well, and we were talking about being intentionally obtuse and, you know, satire and confusing your readers. I mean, ultimately, what did this story, what did this segment of a novel, what did this do for you ultimately?
I mean, ultimately, it just I mean, like, I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
This didn't change the way I think about things. I've had like more deeper, profound um, encounters with like existential art. But what it did for me was to remind me that I have to like engage with words on a page. I need to zoom out. Like I need to
Mm.
zoom out and I need to remember that sometimes there are like logics happening on the page that a writer is working from some kind of inner logic that is not immediately apparent to me that's going to require work on my part. That was like my takeaway from this story is that like you need to go in bravely, open eyes, and try to meet something where it's at. Because if you don't, then it'll just be a jumble of like pseudoscience weirdness. And I'll be like, is it next week yet? Sarah, what's this about? Is it Thursday yet where we can talk about a ghost story? Or I can like zoom out, take a deep breath, read this story, it's like a benefit of the doubt thing. I'm going to give this writer the benefit of the doubt that there is something profound and deep here. And obviously that's just like a more interesting way to read, but specifically since it's like some really smart people chose this for an anthology. So like that was the big takeaway for me. That's like text can work in different ways. What the words say is not what necessarily is being meant. Collage, what's the sum of the parts rather than the parts. That for me, that was like the lesson.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. And I think partially I asked you your thoughts in that area because I'm not 100% sure what I think.
Okay.
Part of me is feeling a little cynical that, oh, was this story, it's not really anywhere else. Was it just included in here to show a sort of taxonomy? Is it just here to show that, look, science fiction was doing this stuff before Dadaist art, before all of these, futuristic things? Like, it's here not because it's a good story, but it's here just to show that people were thinking like this during this time.
Yeah, you're not alone
Okay.
in that. There are critiques of this collection say things like that,
Really?
where it's like really excellent stories were omitted for the sake of some kind of comprehensiveness, for the sake of like what you're saying, taxonomy. He says himself in this intro, in the interest of documenting the overlap between science
Oh.
fiction and fact.
Oh.
Like Vandermeer asserts that like, I want to put this story in because it's really interesting how science fiction and science, like, so I think you're right. And it's like, yeah, I think that's a legit reading to feel a little cynical or like, okay, cool. I'm glad to know that in 1896, science fiction and science wed together. Thanks, but can we get to the horror story?
Thanks. Can we get to something that like makes me feel something emotionally? I mean, sorry, not that every story needs to do that,
Well,
but
that's what I mean. Like, even like the idea, like, even that's where I'm just like, I think a lot of this kind of art is like idea forward and it doesn't engage you emotionally in the immediate way that a carefully drawn, intimate character study film does, for example. But if the ideas are centered in a certain way and presented, they do make you feel something because they like unlock thoughts that then lead to feelings. And that didn't happen. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I think that idea art can make you feel a lot. It's just like, it's a little bit of a different sequence, but this didn't do it for me.
I appreciate that.
I feel like this is a great moment
Oh,
to transition to tomorrow's
you've been
story.
looking forward to this so much.
I kind of have. Have you read tomorrow's story yet?
No, I was saving it for today. So
Okay. Then I
I
won't.
have yet.
I won't give
Oh,
too
you can
many
spoil it.
teasers. No, please. No, this is a good one, not to be spoiled. So, I'm gonna put a Discord link in
Oh, yes, please.
the comments. So
I will do
if
the
you're
same.
just joining the stream, we do science fiction clubs on Wednesdays, horror story club on Thursdays. There's a Discord. I'm gonna get the link to the Discord so you don't miss any of these fun talks. But more specifically tomorrow, the story is called There's a Long, Long Trail a Winding. Sarah, do you mind typing that title in?
Oh, absolutely. And you want to kind of give us a little taste of what we're getting
I
into?
will. So this is by Russell Kirk. This is definitely yeah, I don't want to go in too far because everyone should read it because this is slow burn horror. This is on the longer side. This is like a almost 40-page story. So budget some time, but it is a slow burn. If you just like can imagine the payoff that you can get from 40 pages, you get it in this story. First paragraph, along the vast empty 6-lane highway, the blizzard swept as if it meant to swallow all the sensual world. Frank Sarsfield, massive though he was, scudded like a heavy kite before that overwhelming wind. And then it goes on to describe this terrible storm. Great way to start a story in the middle of a storm. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. Tomorrow is really cool because the mastery is extended. You really can like see the seeds that got planted. Oh, that got planted like 20 pages ago in a very cool way.
So this one's going to be fun to explore because of so many of the story elements we enjoy that were really absent from elements of pataphysics.
Yeah. But that's why. Yeah. I'm sure the horror collection will deliver some challenging reads too. At some point,
absolutely.
After the next week is called Cthulhu, going straight to the source of sources, as it were, which
I'm very excited about.
So let's call it there. I think, Sarah, unless there's anything else. Is there anything else? Oh, Friday we write.
Oh, yeah.
So Friday we'll be back with the weekly writing. And I think Sarah and I found a Christmas horror submission. Laura Huntress, I know you're excited about that. So yes, on Friday, we will be doing live writing. We will share a submission opportunity that we have found about Christmas horror.
Yes. It's gonna be really, really fun. And if that's not your bag, you can write whatever you want. I just want to let you know you are not locked into writing about murdering Santa Claus or a Santa Claus who murders other people. Yes, Christmas horror.
It sounds like that clarification is needed. Mateo asks, Christmas horror, ? Worthy question. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but it says something like, there can be reindeer, Santa, Yuletide. All that matters is it scares us. It's something like that. The submission copy is something to that effect.
And if you want to, I don't know if you've ever seen Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 1 or Part 2. If you want to inspire yourself.
I have not. Me? No.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I guess I don't know why Mateo would have seen that either.
Or anyone.
Yeah,
if you've seen.
I know I haven't. But I mean,
The Majesty.
That sounds amazing. I guess it's not the craziest idea. We're gonna find out. Oh! Someone has seen him.
It's garbage day.
Nick knows.
Nick knows.
You know, and Nick and Sarah know. Well, Mateo, you and I do not know, but we'll figure it out.
Maybe you're better off for it. Just how you spend your time.
All right, folks, we're grateful for you. Tomorrow, what time are we tomorrow? We're 4:30 Central Time.
I believe so. So we're switching things up just a little bit just because of life and schedules. So I have it, 4:30 Central. So that'll give us 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Okay.
So hopefully I'll read the story. If not, come hang out anyway. And if not, we'll see you on Friday.
Yes. Garbage day. Okay, I'm done now.
All right, bye.
I will also bring it up incessantly on Friday. But all right, friends. Yes, we'll see you